I've worked at Black Hollow Reserve for almost 6 years. It's not a glamorous gig, and it's not a national park, so nobody really cares what goes on out here. No influencers, no tourist traps, just miles of dense ancient woods that swallow sound and stretch into the kind of wilderness that looks older than language. The place has a weight to it, not spiritually exactly, but heavy. Like it remembers things, like the trees saw something they weren't supposed to and never forgot. Most of the year it's quiet. I check trails, clean up after the occasional drug camper, radio in broken fencing, sometimes assist an SAR, search and rescue, when hikers go missing. Which, to be honest, is way more common than it should be. And I mean common like once every few months someone vanishes and doesn't come back. Sometimes they're found days later, confused but alive. Sometimes we find their packs or clothing neatly folded at the edge of the woods, like they decided to undress and vanish into the trees, and sometimes, nothing. Not a boot print, not a snap branch, just gone. We're told to chalk it up to wild animals or people wanting to disappear, but no one on staff actually buys that. There's a saying between rangers out here: if you see the forest blink, run, fast. Most of us pretend it's a joke. It's not. It started with the dead trees. It was mid-fall and the woods were already taking on that bone-colored hue, leaves brittle, the wind thin and dry. I was hiking along the ridgeline loop, checked for trail markers and log erosion damage, when I saw something strange. There was a patch of forest where every tree was stripped of its bark, completely naked, like smooth gray bones rising out of the ground. No mark of disease, no animal activity, just stripped bare, and in the center of it all was a single tree that hadn't been touched. Except it wasn't really a tree, not entirely. It looked like a tree, sure, but the texture was wrong. It shimmered slightly, the way oil does on water. Every time I look at it dead on, it held still. But in my peripheral vision, it moved, like it was breathing. I should have left then, radioed it in, noped out, but something felt magnetic about it. I circled it, walked closer, ran my hand across the surface. It was warm, too warm, like it had sunlight stored inside it. And that's when the ground opened up. Not like a sinkhole, not a dramatic cave-in. It was silent. The earth gave way beneath my boots without resistance, soft like walking onto a rotted mattress. In one moment I was standing, and the next I was sinking. The tree thing shimmered, and then everything went black. When I woke up, the sky was wrong. It was dim, but not nighttime. The sky above me glowed, a dull orange pink, pulsing like a living thing. It wasn't sky at all, I realized. It was a ceiling, miles above, curved like a dome, dotted with floating jellyfish-like lights. I was lying in soft moss, except it wasn't moss. It looked like it, but when I touched it, it reacted to me, curled slightly around my fingers like it wanted to hold on. The air smelled electric. The trees around me were tall, gnarled things with translucent bark and slow-moving sap that glowed faintly. I don't know how I knew, but I knew it wasn't a cave. This was something else, something deeper. I had fallen into the earth, but it wasn't hollow. Not really. It was layered, like I dropped between the skin of the world into a hidden membrane no one was supposed to touch. I started walking. I didn't know where to go, but standing didn't seem wise. The forest was eerily quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It felt watched, like the silence was breathing with me. I passed things I can't describe perfectly. A tree that had veins and an audible heartbeat, a patch of plants that looked like dandelions but whispered to each other in languages that sounded like glass breaking underwater. And then I saw the statue. It was massive, 50 feet tall, curved into the side of a rock wall. Except the rock wasn't rock at all, it was bone. The statue had no face, just a mouth that stretched from chin to forehead, frozen in a scream. Around it, smaller figures knelt, faceless and bowed. There were markings along the base, runes or glyphs etched into the bone. One of them was familiar, a symbol I'd seen before, carved into a tree near a missing hiker's last known location 2 years ago. I still had my notebook and my ranger vest. I copied it down, hand shaking. Then I heard a voice, not outside, in my head. "Welcome, surface has forgotten you." I spun around. No one, nothing. The air didn't even move, but I felt it. Something large, old, and curious had noticed me. And it wasn't the only thing watching. The city. I found it after 3 more hours of walking, or maybe 3 days. Time got slippery down here. The city wasn't built, it was grown. Buildings made of coral-like spires, looping bridges made from living vines that hardened into stone as you stepped on them. Creatures moved between structures, tall, thin figures with elongated limbs and eyeless faces, draped in robes that fluttered without wind. They didn't speak. They didn't even look surprised to see me, just moved aside like they had been expecting me all along. There was a structure at the heart of the city, a cathedral or temple, maybe. Inside, the walls pulsed with light, pale blue and sickly green. Floating above the altar was a sphere of liquid, holding something inside it. It was a man. Suspended, asleep, or dead, his body was perfectly preserved. He looked like he'd been from my time, park ranger uniform and everything. I leaned in. He looked like me. I ran. I don't remember how I got out. The next thing I recall, I was vomiting up dirt and moss, lying face down near the stripped tree I'd found days before. My radio crackled, like it had been dead, and just rebooted. HQ was shouting my name. I was gone for 2 hours, they said, but I swear I was down there for weeks. They didn't believe me, of course. The tree was gone, the patch of barkless forest had vanished, everything looked normal. But I still have the rune I copied. I still dream about the city. Sometimes I wake up with dirt under my nails and I haven't been outside. Something got out with me. I can feel it sometimes, like it's pacing behind my eyes. If you live near Black Hollow, and you hear something whisper your name, keep walking. If the trees look like they're breathing, don't look too long. And if the ground feels warm, run. I've been back topside for about 3 weeks now, or at least that's what the calendar says. I don't trust time the same way I used to. I sleep less, eat less, the food tastes off. Like my body remembers something from down there and it wants to reject everything from up here. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is the sounds. I used to love how quiet Black Hollow got at night, peaceful like the woods tucked themselves in. Now, the silence sounds wrong, hollow like the forest is holding its breath. And sometimes, in the in-between hours, those brittle minutes between 2 and 3 a.m., I hear clicking, rhythmic, deliberate, like something is thinking. It started again on a Tuesday. HQ radioed in a complaint the campers are hearing howling, not coyotes, something deeper, throatier. They said it sounded wet, so lucky me, I got sent out to investigate. They always send me now. Since I came back, I think they're scared of me. Honestly, they don't say it, but I see it in their eyes. They won't admit it, but they know something came back with me. I took Trail 9 into the backwoods. It's not even on the public map. An old ranger trail that used to lead to an old lookout tower that burned down in '83. The deeper I went, the more things got off. The trees leaned in a way that like they were whispering. A patch of moss blinked at me. Something followed just out of the flashlight range. Not a bear, too quiet, too patient. I saw claw marks on a tree about 7 feet up, long slashes. Not from any animal I know. And that's when I heard it, skittering. Not the light kind. Not the squirrel or raccoon. No, this was wet, multi-legged, heavy, clicking as it moved, like claws on bone. I swept my light. Eyes. Dozens. Reflections caught up in a beam. Up in the trees, clustered like Christmas lights, then blinked out all at once. I moved fast, not running, but fast, controlled. Came across an old ranger post, long abandoned, smelled like rotten old paper. I bolted the door behind me and killed my flashlight. Sat in the dark listening. The skittering stopped. Silence. Then a whisper. "We remember you." It wasn't from inside the cabin. It came through the radio. My radio was off. I've read reports now, dug through the old archives HQ keeps locked up. There's a name scribbled in the margins of old incident logs, over and over. Hollow Weavers. Cryptid? Cult term? I don't know. What I do know is that they're not spiders, not fully, but they move like them. Think like them, spin not just webs, but traps in reality. Lures. You ever hear a familiar voice in the woods and follow it? Only to get turned around and lost? That's them. Some of them wear animal parts, hollowed out deer heads, stripped bear pelts, stretched over spindly bodies. I saw one wearing a mountain lion skin like a shawl. Its fangs still dangling. And when they stand up, full height, 9 feet, joints all wrong, fingers too long. The worst of all, they can mimic voices. Not perfectly, but enough to make you doubt what's real. Back in 1997, a ranger named Elliot went missing. Officially, they ruled it a mountain lion attack. but I found his logbook tucked under floorboards in the old station. His last entry read, "They nest in the burnt tower. They wear our faces now. I saw myself smiling from the treetops. I shot it." It laughed. The tower, the one that burned down in '83, I had to see it for myself. The foundation was still there, charred wood and melted metal, but the stone base had grown, not eroded, grown. Smooth structures had erupted from the ash like fungus made of bone. Something big was resting there. I found the remains of deer, rabbits, a bear, half digested, stuck in a web as thick as mattress, and something else. Human boots. One still had a foot in it. The clicking started again. I turned slowly. There it was. It had 8 limbs, sure, but it stood like a person. Its face looked like a coyote's skull, except it moved. Opened, closed, blinked sideways. Hairless, pale. Its back twitched with sacs like oversized ticks, pulsing. Something inside moved. And in its hand, a ranger badge. Mine. I ran. Didn't think. I just ran. Branches whipped me. Shadows followed me. At one point, the forest ahead split like it didn't want me to die yet. When I stumbled onto Trail 9, my flashlight flickered on by itself. The light pulsed 3 times like a warning or a heartbeat. I haven't told HQ everything. I just said the campers heard a bobcat and overreacted. I know they don't believe me, but they don't want the truth either. They've known about the Hollow Weavers for decades. That's why Trail 9 was pulled from the map. That's why no one patrols past the burned tower anymore. But the Weavers are spreading. I saw their silk on Trail 3 this morning near the ranger station. They're watching, and they're patient. They told me I wasn't supposed to survive down there. The orb weavers weren't built for sunlight. Their skin peels like burnt plastic in open air, but they came anyway, because I came back. The deeper I go into Black Hollow, the more awake it feels, and tonight, it called me. It was back, waiting in the brush, like it never left. Same spot I crawled out from weeks ago, like it remembered the hole it lost me through. I saw it before it moved, spindly and crooked. Crouched in a husk of bark and moss, still watching. I raised my rifle. It didn't flinch. It spoke first. "You weren't meant to leave." Its voice sounded like every scream I didn't let out. Then it lunged. I fought animals before, coyotes, bears. Once I had to put down a rabid elk. This wasn't like that. This thing was a tactician. It fought like something that learned by watching humans kill each other for sport. Moved its intention, anticipated, adapted. Its limbs wrapped around trees like anchors, slingshotting itself at me. I fired, twice. Hit its torso, kite and cracked, but it kept coming. I ducked, rolled, drew the knife from my boot and slashed the tendon in its leg. It screeched, not in pain but rage. Then it said, "You're marked. The breach changed you." We fought for what felt like 10 minutes, but I might have been seconds. I lost track after it sank a claw into my shoulder and whispered something in the black tongue it speaks when it forgets I'm listening. Whatever it said made my blood run cold. Not just fear, recognition, like a memory was hiding in my bones, and that phrase woke it up. I got one lucky strike right through what I think was its throat. It spasmed, thrashed, and vanished into the trees, but I'm not stupid. That wasn't a win. That was a warning. I got the call just after 4 a.m. Dispatch flagged it as a possible false alarm. A lone ping off of a hitchhiker's phone. Mid-transmission, no words, just a burst of static and GPS coordinates. Out way past the fire line. Way beyond the usual trails. Hell, even the wildlife camera stopped working out there. Black Hollow Reserve. Most of us locals don't go near it. There's no rule that says you can't, but every hunter, hiker, and bored teenager who wandered up in too deep either came back off or didn't come back at all. But I'm the last old school boot still on the call for these weird shifts. And something about that alert stuck with me. Felt like a gut check from 20 years back. So I grabbed my jacket, ready to in my position, and took on the truck, up the ridge. Takes about 40 minutes to reach the edge of Black Hollow. No real roads once you pass the maintenance gates. Just logging paths and rotted signage. I parked near the old tower base, or what's left of it anyway. It used to be a fire lookout in the 70s, burned sometime in the early 2000s. Nobody ever rebuilt it. As soon as I got out of the truck, I noticed the quiet. No bugs, no birds, no breeze. The kind of quiet that presses in on your ears like the air itself is holding its breath. I followed the GPS trail into the thicket, flashlight sweeping through the dense underbrush and half-dead pine. and that's when I found my first sign of trouble. The hiker's pack, torn open, shredded really, like something dug through it. Not an animal bite, no clean slashes. This looks like pressure, massive. Punch-sized holes in the canvas where it had been gripped, crushed, and yanked. Nearby I spotted the body. At first I thought it was a bear kill until I saw the webbing. Not like a spider you find under your porch. This stuff was thick, like braided rope soaked in resin. It wrapped around the poor guy in loops, tight, methodical, and surgical. His eyes were still open, but the worst part was what came next. I almost didn't see the tracks. It was only after I turned to radio it in that I caught them in the dirt, holes, perfectly round, deep, spaced far apart like legs from something gigantic and deliberate. Each depression was wide enough for me to stand in, heel to toe. And they didn't just press into the soil, they pierced it like whatever made them carry weight that didn't belong to this world. And they were fresh, still wet at the edges, where condensation clung like dew in the early morning. 10 feet from the body I found something scratched into the mud. A message written with what I assumed was a massive claw, carved like they barely understood the language. You will come back. The spacing was erratic, the letters crooked, and beside it, handprints, bloody, human, leading away from the scene until they stopped, abruptly next to one of those big spider leg craters. Nothing after that, no drag marks, no footprints, just the implication. There was more than one hitchhiker, and something took him, or followed him, and left no trace of where he went. I called it in, marked the area for retrieval, and got the hell out. I don't scare easy, seen things on the job that most folks can't stomach. But that night, driving back down that ridge alone in the dark, I left my sirens off, didn't want to draw attention from whatever the hell is might still be listening. I kept thinking about what it said. You were never meant to leave. I hear it when I blink, feel it in my teeth. It wasn't just a threat, it was a statement, a fact. Something broke when I crawled out of the sinkhole alive, and something down there noticed. I've been trying to sleep it off, keep it together, I've patched up worse wounds, but this isn't about blood. The hollow weaver did more than claw my shoulder open. It left something behind, a mark, a burn, a shape that itched under my skin all night, till I looked. It's not infected, it's drawn there. Thin black lines dashed just beneath the surface like veins twisted into a pattern. I don't know what it means. But when I tried to photograph it, the camera wouldn't focus, just static like it didn't want to be recorded. This morning, the forest was louder than usual, birds chirping too fast, squirrels panicking up the trees, like everyone else knew what I didn't. I walked the perimeter of the western trail. That's where I found the second one, another cocoon wrapped up in thick fibers dangling 6 feet off the ground like a Christmas ornament made of bone and resin. This one had a face I recognized, Wilson, trail volunteer, retired but always out here cleaning the brush. He was hollowed out, not eaten, emptied, like someone drained him for what's inside of him. Next to him in the dirt, another message. They're learning to hunt above. I tried to radio base, but got nothing but static. Climbed the ridge to get a better signal. That's when I heard it, a skittering, not one, dozens all around me. Not moving closer, not yet, watching. I don't think the weavers came here alone. I think I left the door open, and they weren't the only ones who noticed. If you ever find yourself near Black Hollow Reserve, don't go looking for sinkholes, don't follow the silk trails, and if you ever hear something whisper your name from the trees, don't answer. Some doors just don't close once you walk through them. Trust me, I was never supposed to leave. It's getting harder to tell what's real. The deeper I go into Black Hollow, the less the trees look like trees. They stretch wrong, breathe almost. The bark peels in symmetrical patterns, like something underneath wants out. I told myself I'd do one last sweep. Get eyes on the south ridge, then leave. Quit. Burn the damn uniform if I have to. But something's been calling me. It's not a sound. Not really. It's more like a pressure behind the eyes. A tug in the chest that keeps turning my boots in the wrong direction, making me forget why I came that way. And today, I gave in. It was a trail, barely more than a game path, but lined with those silken threads, like veins stretched between the branches. I followed it. The further I went, the quieter the world got. No birds, no wind, just a sickening hush that screams something's watching. Then I saw the clearing. Massive gouges in the dirt, deep, like someone drove telephone poles into the ground and ripped them back out. Only they weren't telephone poles. They were legs. I was standing in the nest, bones everywhere, piled like a crown around a sinkhole the size of a cabin. Some human, some not. One skull still had a park volunteer cap rotting on it. I stepped forward and it rose. 8 legs covered in bristled wet hair, a body like fused muscle and obsidian. Its face, or what looked like one, peeled open, revealing something that pulsed and shimmered like heat on asphalt. It screamed, but not with a mouth. "You were marked! You left! You belong!" I fired every round I had. Useless. It moved too fast, too wide. It crushed trees like matchsticks as it lunged. I barely rolled away. Hit the ground hard, shoulder bleeding. Same damn side it marked before, like it was reopening a door. I crawled to a rock, picked up a jagged piece. When it came at me again, I didn't run, I spoke. "I don't belong to you." It stopped, just for a second. That's when I stabbed a shard into its face. Not deep, but enough. It recoiled, hissed something I felt more than heard, then vanished down the sinkhole with a final chatter that shook the ground. I looked back as the sun came up. Not a dream, not a delusion. The wound's still fresh, my boots are still soaked in something that smells like sulfur and rotten flowers. I don't know if I heard it, or if it let me go, but I know this. I'm not the only one it marked. There are others. People who vanished near this place. Campers, hikers, rangers before me. It's building something, or maybe calling them home. And if I stay any longer, I don't think I'll come back out the same. If you ever come to Black Hollow Reserve, well, I suggest you just don't come to Black Hollow Reserve.